It's a quiet morning here in Logan Square, the kind where the L train rumbling past my window sounds less like a disruption and more like a heartbeat in the city's chest. The scent of rain-soaked asphalt and brewing coffee fills my small apartment, a familiar comfort. 600 square feet, just enough for me and my thoughts, a space I bought after the dust settled, after the world turned upside down and then righted itself again. My Honda Civic is parked downstairs, reliable as ever. It's a simple life, a good life. But sometimes, in these still moments, the memory of what was, of the year that nearly broke me, still catches in my throat. The worst year of my life, without a doubt. And it all revolved around Rachel. I was 30 then, still living paycheck to paycheck on my $78,000 salary as a digital forensics specialist. I loved my work. The truth, in data, was objective, unwavering. I hunted down anomalies, traced digital ghosts, found the story hidden in the zeros and ones. It was a pursuit of clarity, of undeniable fact. Rachel, she was different. She walked into my life like a perfectly curated social media feed made real, vibrant, ambitious, impossibly put together. A financial analyst, she called herself, though I later learned that title was as much a performance as her personality. We met at a tech industry mixer, an event I usually dreaded. But she had this way of making me feel seen, like my quiet intensity, my deep dive into the minutiae of data, was something fascinating, not just nerdy. Looking back, the red flags weren't even subtle. I was just expertly blindfolded. We'd be out with her friends, these slick, well-dressed people who talked about market trends and vacation homes in Aspen. Rachel would introduce me. This is David. He's brilliant with computers, finds all the hidden stuff. And then, almost immediately, she'd follow it with, he's so grounded, you know? Not chasing the big bucks, just content with his code. It wasn't praise. It was a subtle put-down, delivered with a smile, designed to frame me as a harmless, slightly naive accessory. Her friends would nod, their eyes polite but dismissive. I remember one of them, a smug guy in a tailored suit, asking me once, so, David, are you one of those guys who enjoys living lean? Minimalist, right? Rachel had laughed, a tinkling sound that now echoes with malice. I just mumbled something about finding satisfaction in solving complex problems. I was so focused on being perceived as intelligent, I missed being perceived as a joke. She began to push, gently at first, for a different lifestyle. Not for us, but for her, with me as the enabler. A designer handbag she absolutely needed for a client meeting. An absurdly expensive weekend trip to Miami to network, which turned into us flying first class, staying in a penthouse suite, and me footing most of the bill. My savings, painstakingly built, began to dwindle. She'd say things like, honey, you're so smart. You should be making double what you do. We could be living so much better. And I, idiotically, believed it was ambition for us. Her frustration with my modest life became a palpable thing. We'd be at a dinner party, and someone would ask about my work. I'd try to explain, about digital forensics, the pursuit of truth. Rachel would interject, oh, he's basically a detective for spreadsheets. So fascinating, but not exactly glamorous, right? She'd laugh, and her friends would offer pitying smiles. The words cut, not just because they trivialized my passion, but because she said them as if I was the one holding her back. The humiliation tasted like ash in my mouth, but I convinced myself she just wanted me to succeed, to reach my full potential. Then came the request that changed everything. She came to me, her eyes wide and earnest, telling me she needed my help. David, you're the only one I trust with this. My portfolio, it's getting too visible. I need to anonymize some of the holdings, for privacy. You know, client confidentiality, keeping things clean. She made it sound like a complex, ethical gray area, something only my unique skill set could navigate. She even played on my professional integrity, telling me she admired my commitment to data security and discretion. I saw it as a challenging technical puzzle, an opportunity to apply my skills to help the woman I loved. I spent weeks meticulously sifting through her digital assets, setting up encrypted proxies, creating shell accounts, all to obscure the true nature of her wealth, thinking I was building a firewall for her privacy. I was, in reality, building the gallows for myself. The calls from federal regulators started a few months later. A low hum at first, then a roar. Rachel's demeanor shifted overnight. The charming, ambitious woman became a frantic, scared little girl. David, they're asking about my accounts. My anonymous accounts. Did you make a mistake? Her voice was laced with an accusation that sent a cold spike through my gut. I tried to reassure her, telling her my methods were flawless, that I'd followed every protocol. But she wouldn't listen. She started planting seeds of doubt, not just in me, but in our conversations. Remember how you said those new encryption standards were tricky? You were worried about them, weren't you? She began to rewrite history, twisting my own words, my own professional concerns, into evidence of my incompetence. I felt like I was losing my mind. Every time I tried to logically explain, she'd devolve into tears, accusing me of not caring, of leaving her vulnerable. They're going to take everything, David. Everything we worked for. I was just trying to keep my head above water financially while she was jet-setting. Then came the emails, the official letters. Securities and Exchange Commission. Insider trading investigation. My blood ran cold. Rachel became a master manipulator, her gaslighting so insidious I started to believe it myself. They're looking at our access logs, David. You're the one with the expertise. You're the one who handled the anonymization. I just gave you the instructions. I trusted you. She would look at me with wide, tear-filled eyes, making me feel like I was the monster for even questioning her. She started subtly altering my personal financial data, moving around small sums, creating a digital breadcrumb trail that led straight to my front door. My work access logs, the ones I used for legitimate projects, suddenly had suspicious overlaps with her illicit activities. She'd used my credentials, my professional reputation, to execute her scheme, then meticulously crafted the evidence to point solely at me. I was trapped in a nightmare, watching as she expertly framed me, painting me as the mastermind, while she, the cunning architect, prepared to vanish with millions. The knock came at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday. Heavy, insistent, shaking the whole doorframe. Two men in dark suits, stone-faced. They didn't even need to say anything. I knew. The handcuffs were cold on my wrists, the ride to the federal building a blur of flashing lights and overwhelming dread. Rachel was nowhere to be found. Just like that, she vanished. They interrogated me for hours, showing me the meticulously curated evidence, my IP addresses, my login times, my financial transfers, all linked to her scheme. It was irrefutable, undeniable. I heard my own voice, weak and desperate, trying to explain, to connect the dots to her. They just looked at me with bored indifference. They had their scapegoat. David Miller, the quiet digital forensics guy, the brilliant but greedy hacker. Imprisonment. The word itself still makes my stomach clench. The stale air, the metallic tang, the constant hum of despair. Days bled into weeks, weeks into months. My lawyer, a tired public defender, told me it looked bad. Really bad. Years. My life gone. Ruined. I was a professional, a man who sought objective truth, and here I was, trapped in a lie. The initial shock, the grief, the self-pity, they hit me like a physical blow. I spent days staring at the gray concrete walls, reliving every moment, every kind word, every patronizing smile. The utter, soul-crushing betrayal. Rachel, the woman I loved, had not just used me. She had systematically dismantled my life, piece by agonizing piece. She had seen my trust, my skills, my quiet nature, and viewed them not as virtues, but as weapons to be turned against me. But then, something shifted. Slowly, agonizingly, the despair began to recede, replaced by a cold, searing anger. It wasn't a hot, impulsive rage. It was a forensic anger, the kind that fueled my work, the desire to find every hidden bit, every corrupted pixel. I wasn't David the victim anymore. I was David the specialist. I started replaying every interaction, every detail. Her insistence on using a specific cloud storage provider for her anonymized portfolio. The way she'd always been so meticulous about her own data hygiene, almost obsessive. And then it hit me. A flash, a sudden, blinding clarity that cut through the fog of my despair. An old holiday photo. A cheesy snapshot of us from a vacation in Tulum, sun-drenched and ridiculously happy. I digitally enhanced it for her, brightened the colors, sharpened the edges. And she, ever the perfectionist, had asked me to resize it for various social media platforms. While doing so, she'd insisted on adding a tiny, custom watermark to her copy, a unique symbol she'd designed herself, almost imperceptible. She'd said it was her way of claiming her memories, of marking her digital territory. At the time, I'd found it endearingly quirky. Now, it was a lifeline. I remembered it wasn't just on the photo. She'd told me she embedded it into all her personal data archives, a meticulous digital signature. I knew, with absolute certainty, that Rachel had kept her true ledger, the master record of her illicit dealings, separate from the fabricated evidence she'd left for me. She was too smart, too arrogant, to not have a definitive, personal record of her triumphs. And she would have marked it with that watermark. The anger solidified into a plan. A cold, calculated, patient plan. I wasn't going to confront her. I was going to expose her. And I knew exactly how. Years ago, while working on a project, I'd stumbled upon a highly specific, obscure zero-day vulnerability in a widely used cloud storage provider that exact one Rachel used. It was a backdoor, a tiny, almost invisible crack in the system's armor, allowing covert access to certain metadata and hidden files. I'd documented it, reported it, but it had been deemed too niche, too complex to exploit, and therefore low priority. It had never been fully patched. I had, in my professional curiosity, even written a dormant script, a proof of concept for how such a vulnerability could be exploited, then tucked it away, never thinking I'd ever need it. Now, it was my nuclear option. My time in prison became a mission. I needed a micro-device, something small enough to be smuggled, capable of connecting to a network. It took months, leveraging my unique skill set, networking with the very people the system had deemed irredeemable. Favors were called in, blind eyes were turned, and a tiny, almost invisible device, no bigger than my thumbnail, eventually made its way into my possession. I spent hours, mentally rehearsing the keystrokes, the commands, the sequence of events. Every detail, my mind, sharp and focused, became my prison break. The day came. A nervous tremor ran through me, but my hands were steady. Hidden in plain sight, I activated the micro-device. My fingers, accustomed to the ghost of a keyboard, danced across its tiny surface. I exploited the long-forgotten zero-day vulnerability, navigating the labyrinthine digital corridors with surgical precision. The dormant script awoke, a sleeping giant. It targeted Rachel's personal archives, not the public ones, not the ones she'd fabricated for my downfall. It searched for the custom watermark, that arrogant, unique signature of hers. And it found it. It was all there. Her meticulously organized financial ledger, the true master record of her illicit dealings, the names, the dates, the millions, the intricate web of shell companies, all stamped with her bespoke mark. The script compressed it, encrypted it, and then, using a chain of anonymized proxies, leaked it. Not to the public, not to some shady forum. No, I sent it directly to the federal prosecution team, addressed to the lead investigator on my case, with a single, anonymous note. Check the metadata. Look for the embedded watermark. The silence in my cell after I powered down the device was deafening. A profound exhaustion washed over me, but beneath it, a cold, fierce satisfaction bloomed. The digital ghost I had sent out into the world would find its mark. The wheels of justice, once so slow and indifferent to me, began to turn with surprising speed. A week later, my lawyer walked in, looking stunned. They've received new evidence. Irrefutable, David. It points to someone else entirely. He handed me a printout. Rachel's name. Rachel Green, apprehended internationally, attempting to flee. Her intricate web of shell companies and illegal trades, fully exposed by the definitive ledger, complete with the irrefutable, unique watermark confirming its origin. My name was cleared. I walked out of that place a free man, but profoundly changed. The world was brighter, sharper, but also tinged with a permanent scar. I was no longer the quiet, naive David who believed in inherent good. I was David, the man who had faced the abyss and found a way to fight back, armed with nothing but his mind and the unwavering truth of data. My old life was gone, but a new one had begun. I left my corporate job, establishing my own independent digital forensics firm. I now specialize in exposing corporate fraud and protecting whistleblowers, people like me, who find themselves caught in the machinations of the powerful and unscrupulous. It's demanding work, emotionally taxing, but it feels right. It feels like purpose. Sometimes, I still see Rachel's ghost in the corners of my mind, a fleeting image of her manipulative smile. But it doesn't hold the power it once did. The fear, the betrayal, they've been replaced by something stronger. Resilience. Clarity. Last year, I met Sarah. She's an architect, passionate about sustainable design, with a laugh that crinkles her eyes at the corners. She doesn't care about my salary or the car I drive. She's fascinated by my work, by the stories I tell of objective truth. She values character, integrity, the quiet strength I found in the wreckage. We hike on weekends, cook simple meals, and sometimes she just sits beside me while I work, a comforting presence. There's no grand ambition, no pressure to perform, just a shared, quiet understanding. The scars are there, indelible, but they are a testament to what I survived, to what I overcame. My life isn't perfect, but it's mine, authentically mine. And for the first time in a very long time, I feel truly free.